What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
Hey, our guest today is WatchTheDuck. You maybe never heard of these guys, but they're blowing up quickly. They're hanging out with T.I., Pharrell, all kind of fancy-ass people. They got big things popping with Steve Aoki. And their first single, Poppin Off, was like an independent sensation. And they're now releasing their Trojan Horse EP on Dim-Mak Records. Check it out. Go to your local record store. Is there a local record store in your town? I'm sure there isn't. But go find one. Drive around until you find a store that carries the Trojan Horse EP. Buy that shit. Post a picture. Tag us on Twitter at Rebel Radio Net. I want to see a picture of your 8-track or cassette of the Trojan Horse EP. Man, these dudes are great. They're some southern guys from Alabama by way of Atlanta, London. I forget what they've been. These dudes have been all over the world. And really their musical style really reflects all those travels. They're blending together a bunch of styles, but there's still that southern soul kind of underneath all of it. And we talk a lot about in the interview about getting out of your comfort zone, about being weird and what that means to them. And I really enjoyed it. I hope you will too. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Me sitting in a chair talking to WatchTheDuck. Check it out. Nice. WatchTheDuck. What's up? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate you guys coming out on this cold Los Angeles morning.
I don't get this. I don't understand what we're doing here.
That shouldn't even be right. That sentence should be grammatically incorrect.
Yeah.
We're just trying to expand our horizons, see how the rest of the world lives.
No, I don't want to do that. That's why I came. That's why I came here.
I
came here because it's the land of eternal summer.
Yeah.
It's not eternal summering right now.
I like that. So I know you guys have moved around a lot.
Yeah.
I saw in your bio you came from Alabama and then London.
Alabama, Houston, London, Atlanta. Little time in New York, and now here.
Both of you together, all those places?
Well, except for yeah. And then I think he went to Mexico City for a while, and
wow,
we're jet setters, man.
I guess so.
Yeah,
that's amazing. How'd you guys meet up?
From the same neighborhood. We grew up in the same neighborhood in Montgomery, Alabama, called Willie Park, and then we were actually on drumline in junior high together. Well, not drumline, symphonic band. Drumline makes it sound
really
way cool. It wasn't. It was symphonic band. We were in tuxedos and whatnot. We weren't marching band. It was like we were playing stuff like Phantom of the Opera and Proclamation and Symphonic Decree, which was my favorite song.
Avantia.
I love
that was my favorite.
Yeah, I love that one.
You guys were drumming?
Yeah.
Nice.
Symphonic style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when did you start making music together?
I think it got serious in college because we all individually growing up, because we talking junior high right now. So growing up, each person, we followed our own kind of like paths to this, and college was when we really came together, and because we wound up at the same college. And I say wound up because it wasn't a plan. Like we wasn't sitting in each other's house. This is what we gonna do. This is the plan. It wasn't our plan. I'll say that, but. We wound up at the same college together, and
where'd you go to school?
Alabama A&M.
Okay.
So that's where really it got serious there, because we had a little studio. The funny thing is, I had a job where I had a family friend, a really close family friend, who I was a janitor. I cleaned up his building, and one of the deals I worked out was, in return, he gave me an extra room in the back of the building. And so in the back of the building, we put all the equipment, because during high school I cut a lot of grass, collected a lot of equipment, and put it all in this room. So we literally had a studio in Huntsville, Alabama, and it's so weird because from 9 to 5, the place was like a child placing like human resources thing, and then all of a sudden at 7 o'clock, music crunk up, and we was back there making music. But so it was so weird, but it was cool. Like because we're imagining college, you have a studio to go to. Like couldn't put it in the dorm room because I'm quite sure it would have got. But so that was cool, and we didn't tell anybody about it. It was a very well kept secret. We didn't talk about it because we didn't want to get the place robbed.
Right.
But yeah.
But you knew before that you wanted to make music, obviously, if you're collecting equipment.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? How'd you know you were gonna make music?
Purple Rain, Prince movie.
Man,
I think it's the first movie I ever saw in life because my mom was a huge Prince fan. So
you saw it in the theater? You must have been too young for that.
I was like, I think that movie came out before I was even born. But I saw it. My mom still would play it like it was new, and that was like the first grown-up movie I could watch. Everything else was cartoons, but something about Prince she didn't mind. So when I saw that, it changed my life. Like I was staring at it, and they had to hide the VHS tape. VHS tape for the really young people out there. It's a thing you got to actually rewind and wait on.
It's kind of like Netflix,
but not.
But you got to get up and
It's
go
very
across
physical.
the room.
Yeah,
You can go heat up your food
While
get
it's rewired.
prepared. You know exactly what you're doing by the time.
There's probably 12 o'clock flashing on it.
Getting
the whole
movie
time.
set, yeah.
Forever.
Nobody ever set the timer on their VCR.
Getting the movie
Man.
set was a real thing. When somebody said, "Yo, get the movie set," that was a job.
For sure.
That was serious.
You really have to do that.
What was your favorite scene from Purple Rain?
Yo, when he was on the motorcycle,
Hell yeah.
and every time Apollonia, I still know the character names. Every time Apollonia still tried to get on the motorcycle, he would drive up a little bit and drive a little. Like he just pissed her off. And I think at the time I didn't know this phrase, but that was like my first time witnessing negging. So, but yeah, like the way he played her was, and it's just, man, Prince was like just everything. So it was at that moment that I was just like, all right, yeah, whatever he's doing, like I didn't know what I want. I just knew I had to do something with music because I just like, this is it. Him, and I also thought Morris Day was like the coolest thing in the world too, because him and Jerome, they was just so like impeccable, like with the fashion and just the moves, everything was just so dope. So yeah, that was when it hit me. The bug bit me then, and from there it was just a matter of like my mom supporting me being in symphonic band, marching band, jazz band. When I heard Nirvana and went through a guitar phase and junior high as well, and picked that up. So things of that nature, and it just built all the way up to like by high school, I was buying things like an MPC from like cutting grass in the South. We cut grass to get, and it's so many yards, you can make a lot of money. And,
For sure.
I was buying like real keyboards where I can actually like record and sequence stuff. So high school is where I started like spending money and like real money on equipment.
And what kind of music was it? What kind of music were you trying to make at the time?
Hip hop, man. I'm not gonna even lie. Like hip hop was like strong, and then I had my cousins. They were really, really dope. They were making R&B, and I started to now incorporate that in the sound. But what drove me was hip hop. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
What got you into hip hop?
Man, like growing up, like Outkast was a huge influence.
Yeah.
Bone Thugs and Harmony, and we were at that point. We were coming out of the booty shake momentum that was happening down south, especially out of Atlanta and Miami. So like the Kilo, Raheem, that used to run the parties. Like when we went to a party, that's what we was listening to. It was like 120 BPM, 130 booty shake music. You know what I mean? So all of that. That's what kind of got me into it. All of those influences.
So was there a first record that you remember like really kind of opening your eyes to that?
Weird is this is an R&B record actually, but man, Timbaland. Timbaland.
Which one?
1 in a Million. When I heard that was the first time that combined for me. That was the first time I heard like that level of percussion, because like you said, percussion was a big thing, like I said, but it incorporated into the music and the way he was playing it. It was almost cadence like. I set up with drum machines and just constantly remade that. I'm not gonna even lie, just to do it, you know, and just and to just figure out how he did and how he made the beat. What was so interesting about that beat to me, it was slow. Like, I don't know the exact tempo. I think that it felt like 65 BPM. It might have been around 65. But what was interesting is that when you listen to it, everybody I knew listened to it, they bounced to it. Mm-hmm. But it was a 65 BPM record, so it felt double time. Even though he had none of the sounds he didn't have a fast hi-hat in there playing 16th notes or nothing like that. Right. But he had this crooked in the background that was playing like and I realized like people were bouncing to that, you know, and so that changed everything for me because I was just fascinated with recording and production at that point, like just over the top. Like I was like, that's amazing. Yeah.
What about you? Was there a record that like made it all click in for you?
Well, I got into music later in life, to be honest. I was just focused on being an athlete growing up.
What'd you play?
Football, wrestling. I could just always sing. You know, I had a natural thing for music. So I was always in music stuff, but I never really took it seriously. It was just something I could just absorb. Because I just kind of looked at it like, how am I going to get signed? You know, like how is this real? Yeah. Like I got to meet some like Clive Davis in the mall or something. You know what I mean? So I didn't really know. But then when I got to high school and I realized that I didn't necessarily want to go, because the scholarships I was getting offered were like, they weren't the scholarships that I wanted for football. So it kind of made me be like, well, I don't want to play in college just to play. If I'm not going pro, I don't want to do this. So then I got into music. And at the time, the Neptunes were like running everything, like, you know, because I always loved Timbaland and Missy. They were always my favorite. Of course, Michael Jackson and stuff like that. But the record that really changed my life was "You Don't Have to Call" by, you know, the one the Neptunes did for Usher. Because like they bridges and, you know, Pharrell's bridges were just amazing. And then by that time, me and E had hooked back up, and I got a chance. I actually sat in the studio and watched him make a beat. Who then he was doing it for my partner, for our other homeboy, this guy named Jonathan. They were working on a session together, and I was just sitting on the couch just watching it. And for the first time, it was like music got real to me, you know, because I always liked singing. But then when I saw somebody make a beat and actually write a song for the first time, I was like, oh, I could do this. I think I want to do this. And like I said, then the Neptunes were just running stuff. So I was like, oh, man, that guy right there who's making the beats and then singing the hooks, yeah, I want to do that. Yeah. So then it's like I started putting my mind to music and learning how to make tracks. And, you know, Eddie would teach me stuff like, man, nah, do this with your drums. And it's like, okay, I got you. And then, like, he'd go to sleep and I'd sit up and try to make a beat and be like, man, what you think about this? So it was like, for me, it started that way. I learned that I always loved music when I finally put my mind to it. Before then, it was just something I could do. You know, if I could sing a solo or something. Because, like, being in show choir, like, you know what I mean, just being the only little black kid in show choir, you know, and stuff like that. Like, I always had to sing the solos and stuff like that. Right. But it was just, for me, it was just something to do to get girls. It was like girls, when I learned that girls like guys who could sing, I sung. Sure. But then, you know, when it became real, I was like, oh, I love this. I could do this. Yeah. So that's how it happened.
That's great. And so, I mean, I want to talk about the music you guys are making because, you know, it stands out to me as really unique and you know, I can't help but thinking, you talked about having moved around so much, and I can't help but thinking that those two are related. And so, do you have any thoughts on that, on how living in all these different places has
influenced the music? Yeah. Like, because, I mean, we can't take credit for, like, the music that we're making now sounding like two guys from Alabama. Like, probably the soul that you hear in it, yeah, that's all Alabama. That's church. That's our parents. Yeah, the fact that it's grounded in soul funk music, that's all Alabama. Everything else is all travel. You know, like, because one of our partner now, Oscar, who, you know, is the guitar player but also doubles as the Duck now, he's from Houston, and we always joke on him all the time about Houston. Please, Houston people, don't get mad at me. But when I first moved to Houston, I didn't get the culture all the way. You know, like, I liked UGK and stuff like that, but I didn't get, you know, somebody walk up to you and be like, "Hey, what's up, fool?" You be like, "What? You want to fight me right now?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, bro, I hit you in the mouth. Don't call me fool no more. But then 3 weeks living in Houston, you walk around like, "Yo, what's up, fool?" You know, because I get it now. So it's like I think that happened everywhere that we moved. It was like, you know, after when I first moved to Houston, I was like, man, why are y'all liking this? Like, I don't get it, you know. After a couple of weekends, I'm like, the South Side, yeah, you know. And then you moved over to London. At the time, it wasn't so much dubstep yet. It wasn't like labeled yet. They were more so just calling everything garage music and like grime and stuff like that. So it was real, real raw. And we were going out a lot in London because when we went to London, we went over there initially hosting a tour that was going, but then when we stayed, we kind of just used it as an opportunity to just unplug, to just get inspiration. So, you know, we were going out every night, hanging, going to the pubs, living the lifestyle, and I'm just absorbing it. And like, for me, that's the first time where I ever gave, I guess what's now called electronic music, a chance. Because before that, to me, it was just, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't get that. You know, other than like Chicago's like house music, stuff like that. I like that stuff. But, you know, that real trance stuff, I wasn't into that until I like started going to clubs and they were mixing it right and they were playing it right and I got to experience it. Yeah. So then, you know, by the time we got back to Houston, I was looking for warehouse parties. Like, I didn't want to go to the bottle popping clubs no more. Right. I was looking for like parties with the random DJ who played music that I didn't know not one song all night.
And did you find that in Houston?
Yes, I did. It had been there the whole time. I just didn't look for it. You know, I just only wanted to go to what I was used to. But then once we got back to Houston, it's like, shoot, right next to where I was living, because I lived in a warehouse. The warehouse right next door used to be lit, you know, and so it was my stop from then on. You know, the first time I could actually walk in a party and roll my blunt, like, and not have to worry about security, I was like, oh, you got me. This is home. Where have you been all my life? My goodness, I love you. So, I mean, and it's the same thing, like, with coming to California. So I guess, like, every time, I would like to say, and I'll end what I'm saying because I talk a lot, but
no, that's all right. That's what we're here for.
But I guess, you know, every time you go somewhere, it's like, I guess a veil will be lifted over your eyes, like taken from your eyes to where you can see things. Now when I travel, I go in with open eyes. So it's like, I think that influenced the music, you know, because we would always get like, really, our music was always weird. From the first beats he used to play me before I ever started making beats, they had like 30 changes in them and stuff. You know, it was no loop. You know, it was always like that. It's just that the more we did it, the more we refined the sound and the more we learned where the influences were coming from, the more we could be like, yeah, I think this is what we're doing. So it just kind of, you know, it started coming together. The more we traveled, the more we understood what we were trying to express.
Man, I love that word weird because, you know, Prince is weird.
Very.
The people you're talking about, you know, Pharrell is weird in his time, right? You know, black kids weren't skateboarding, not publicly. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, nah.
Or wearing trucker hats.
Yeah, right? And just doing what he was doing, right? That was weird.
R.I.P. Pharrell.
You know. He got his new hat, the Arby's hat.
And now everybody's doing that.
Right.
But
like that, like nobody
strong. It's been strong over the decade.
For sure, right? But he is Pharrell because he's weird.
Yeah.
You know, and same with Prince and same with Timbaland. Like making beats like that sounded like that, the way you described it at that time, that was weird.
That was different, man.
And I see that in you guys and you know, from the music I've heard. And I think that's so interesting to just kind of embrace that and, like you said, be open to that. And you know, that's one of the things I found is that, like, there is a scene in Houston. There's a scene in every town.
You just got to find it.
But you got to find it and you got to be open to it. And I think our outward perception is that the South is one thing, right? We think of Dirty South. We think of, you know, West Coast. But West Coast is not one sound.
It's not.
No,
right?
It's a lot of sounds, man.
But that's, honestly, outside, like, that's our main purpose. That's what we're here on Earth to do. Like, if we had to say what's our mission statement, you know, if we had a mission statement, it would be expand your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, not step outside your comfort zone. Like, I feel like it's the dumbest thing to tell somebody to do. But expand it, you know, because I feel like you expand it and you make certain things a part of it, the things you like. Everywhere you go, every experience that you have, some of them you like, some of them you won't. But you have to just try stuff, you know.
So was there a moment or like an experience that helped that take shape for you, or or is that just automatic?
Just never fitting in.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, like once you realize that no matter what you do, you don't fit in, you just embrace the fact that you don't fit in. You know, it's like, then it's not weird anymore, it's normal.
So was there a time when you sort of realized that we're going to embrace this?
Poppin Off. I would say we embraced it before Poppin Off, but musically, Poppin Off was that moment. Poppin Off was that moment where, just to be honest, it was like, fuck y'all. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be 100. It was like, fuck y'all, man. I'm tired. Like, fuck it. You know.
How big was that record?
It was big for us.
Yeah.
You know, it got, you know, when we put it up that night, I think it was like, June the 13th, I think it was, 2012. We put it up and then went to sleep and woke up the next day and it had 250,000 views.
No
It's
shit.
like, okay, fuck you works, huh?
Yeah.
You know, we should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, you know, we come from being producers and songwriters, you know, trying to place tracks. So weird isn't a good thing.
Right.
You know, when you're in a service-oriented job, weird isn't good.
Yeah.
And so it was like, man, I don't know about this. But then once we stopped, I guess, trying to please everybody, then, you know, our phone started ringing off the hook of people like Pharrell, people like T.I., people like Busta Rhymes, you know, people just calling, like T-Pain, people just calling like, yo, dog, that shit y'all doing? You know, we like, man, dude, I've been trying to get to you for years, you know, but maybe we just weren't doing it right, you know? So it's like, now it's like, okay, well, you can't ever tell me. And then, like, I have a friend, because I've always called myself weird, like, always. And I have a friend, like my homegirl, she really hates it. She'd always get mad at me, be like, why do you say that? And I'd be like, dude, I'm just trying to talk to you about what I'm saying. I know it's a little different. She was like, but you're not weird. It's just normal. That's normal for you. That's weird for other people. It's normal for you. And I think she finally got through to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're not. We're just us. Everybody should be a little weird. Like, are we not all sheep? We should all try to be together. So I think Poppin Off was that moment when we was just like, man, we can't go back to this. Maybe that works for everybody else. Maybe doing the right beat and the artist walking in hears it works for y'all. But it just didn't work for us. Now it does. Like, now when artists come into the studio, they don't, because we used to, like, get mad because you be sitting around, you know, working all night for artists to come into the studio to have, like, tracks laid out for them, and they'll walk in, the first thing they say is, oh, can you play me something like this? Or you got any beats like this?
Right.
You know, you got any beats with the sample in it where they do it like this? And you're like, man, you don't even want to hear what I just spent 10 hours working on for you. You know what I mean? Like, you just get mad about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, now when artists walk in the room, they say, man, hey, man, give me some of that shit y'all do. You know, they be mad that it's not already doing magic tricks, because that's, you know, post-production type stuff.
Right.
You know, they be like, man, but make sure y'all do y'all to it. So weird works.
Yeah.
Weird works.
And
I got this theory on weird though. I think we have completely been bamboozled. I think there are more people like us than there are people not.
Yeah,
I
right.
think the norm, I think the minority, the new minority are just the loudest. Like, I think, like, if you think about what we would call normal, if you listen to music, like, even especially in rap, like, a lot of it to me is fantasy. Like, most of us are not that, if you really think about the stories.
Yeah.
Rarely are any of us kingpins of anything, you know, like, or these big bosses that we, you know, like, that is the minority. Is most of the people are people like us, but I think the smallest percentage are the loudest.
Sure.
So I think the bamboozle is that we call it weird because we don't hear or see ourselves enough, you know. So we call it weird, but I think at the end of the day, we're normal.
Well, yeah, right. And that's the point, is this entertainment is storytelling, right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, how many rappers the first time they ever saw a exotic car was at their video shoot, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's normal, right? Like, most of us
Yeah.
never been in a Lamborghini.
My
Right?
first time seeing one was when I went to Houston, because we had that in Alabama.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, our VIP sections was the table. We had like 4 pitchers of beer on it. Like, that was VIP. We all
Ballin'.
put together. We was balling.
Right.
Because that was,
Pitcher
what it
ball.
was 4 of them, that was $20.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we was living.
And then we
with these
need your
4
$5 at the end of the night.
Yeah, and I need my $5 from you, bro.
Yeah.
So when I went to Houston, I'm seeing dudes with it. I'm like, oh, this is what y'all rapping about. It made people's lyrics make more sense to me. Like, oh, now I got that metaphor.
That's funny.
I was just rapping it. I didn't know what the hell you was talking about, bro.
That's hilarious.
When
So
they
you
grew up
said
like
something
that.
about telling people, you know, saying not to get out of your comfort zone is bad advice. Is that so? How hard was it for you to like? How strong are those forces trying to force you back into the comfort zone?
At this point, they're not strong. at
No,
all.
but like as you're developing and finding your way.
No, I think it gets easier. I think once you start doing it, I think, like, I'm not gonna call it bad advice telling people to step outside, because it's that first step that's everything. Like, once you go, it's just like anything. Like, you stare at a pool, like thinking the water is cold until you jump in, and you're like, oh, it's fine, it's cool, you know. But you have to. That first step is the thinking about it. So, once you start going, once you start expanding it, and you live through it, it gets better. Like, in school growing up, it was trying to wear something different that was different than everybody else was wearing. You know, it's a nervous day when you leave the house, because you're like, all right. And we come from a culture of joking. Like,
That first day you wear that pink polo.
yeah, we come from a culture of when you joking, when you walk up in the place, like, your boy's gonna get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Once
sure.
you survive that first round or two and you hang in there, and then this is the key right here, especially for people like us, like B, like, you try it on, you go through the joking and whatnot, you make it through it, and then you catch a couple of girls out, and they say, oh, it's real nice what you got on. And that moment right there, you like,
I'm doing this.
reassurance. Because at the end of the day, we all need some level of reassurance. Nobody is existing on the island. Like, the most confident person is not running around like, I don't need nobody to tell me. Like, nah, you need some level of reassurance that you're on the right path. So when you step out there and you get that first, whether it's a wink or like just for somebody who didn't notice you before or whatever, like, that's that moment where you be like, oh, okay, I'm out here now. Like, it's you going a little bit toward the deep end. Like, all right, I'm out here. This is cool. And it gives you that courage to take the next one and the next one. So I feel like our style is a series of those moments where, you know, I was a black kid in Alabama walking out the house with a cummerbund on, going to symphonic band. Like, it started off hard. You know, I had to get through the neighborhood to that concert. Like, so one, I got really good at joking. Like, I will mess you up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
sure.
that happened. And then, you know, I realized that once I was performing and once I was doing stuff, like, you got different levels of appreciation back. Like, be it from even adults at that time that was like, yo, you know, you really could be this and you really could be that. And you start seeing things as limitless, you know? And I think each experience where you do something and you learn something and you see it back, like, makes you more and more confident, you know? So
You stop caring.
that's what it is for us. Like, if Watch the Duck, when people see that duck head logo, like, if that could be that sign, like, it's the same thing that makes me love Apple. You know what I mean? Like, when I see that Apple logo, like, I know it's okay to think different, like, to be just a little different. Like, I think that's what they did with that brand that makes it feel so elite or part of, like, a special team of people.
So tell us about the Watch the Duck brand. I know I read a little bit about where the name means, and I told my wife I'm having Watch the Duck on the show, and she was like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
Like,
Everybody sees a duck traveling on top of the water, so smooth, but nobody pays attention to how hard his feet have to work so he can stay afloat.
yeah,
So to us, Watch the Duck was always an inside joke. It was always like, everybody in this room to me is watching the duck, whether you want to admit it or not, just because you work hard, but you make it look effortless, because that's what a duck does. So I mean, that's what it was. And then it was our joke. Is whenever we see something to let each other know that we peeped it, we'd be like, man, watch the duck. And then we'd be like, man, you see it. So then we did Poppin Off, because we like saying you see it. Everybody, if you hang around us, we will have you saying you see it, because that means you see it. You're like, you know what it is. So when we did Poppin Off, because Poppin Off was just like the result of a series of house parties that we were doing at our frat house in Atlanta. We would just throw parties on Sunday, and then one of them we taped. When we were about to upload it up to YouTube, we had to call ourselves something. So we just looked at each other and was like, watch the duck. And we just bust out laughing. It was like,
Nice.
yep, that's what we calling this, because that's hilarious.
That's great.
And plus it meant something for us, because we like being deep in the shallows, you know, because if you're too deep, people going to miss it. If you're too shallow, everybody's going to enjoy it, but it doesn't do anything for anybody's life. So, I mean, you got to be shallow just so people can have fun with it, and then they'll catch the meaning later. That's what it was. And then literally we do come from being producers and songwriters. Like, we have no problem being behind the scenes to us, it's about the music. It's about the experience. It's about us being able to perform it because we just love doing what we're doing. So, I mean, it's almost like, do you like this music? Cool. Do you need something to look at? Watch the Duck. He will keep you thoroughly entertained.
And when did the Duck come about?
Well, the Duck just popped up at a party one time, and we was like, yeah, now we got a duck.
Like somebody, like a fan?
A friend takes, take what you're saying seriously.
Yeah.
And like watch the duck and you show up as a duck, and we're like, all right,
okay,
that's what's up. And it was kind of cool. Like it was like this. We should do that. We should make it a thing because we wanted to make videos and visuals and whatnot without being in them. To be honest, like when we first started playing the music for people, our friends around Atlanta, we never even told them it was us.
They never knew it was
like
us.
when we was throwing those parties, we didn't say come to watch the Duck party.
Right.
We were playing music that was out, mixing it with other different things, and we would slide stuff like Poppin Off in there. And people literally would come like, what's that? What's that right there? And, we have a lot of friends that's like really heavy into the dance culture, like animation and whatnot. And so that, like we would play that record and like people would just really go in. So a lot of people would really be like, yo, what's that record? And we'd just be like, yeah, let's Watch the Duck. Like we'll be talking third person in the sense like it's not us, it's Watch the Duck. And that kind of kept with us because at the end of the day, we don't, like you said, we love being more so behind the scenes to be able to really get a real conversation about it. Like if you don't know on me, you would tell me what you really feel about
say
it.
That hurt my
you know what I
feelings.
mean? So it's we enjoy that. It's awesome, and it's like that's why Poppin Off out of I think the song was like 4:20 in length, but and out of that whole video, we probably was in it maybe 30 seconds, 30, 40 seconds, and the rest of the video was to us about the culture. Like people didn't know that was happening in Atlanta. Like when you think of Atlanta, I don't know if Love and Hip Hop was out at the time, but you still thought of like Magic City, the strip clubs. You thought of rap videos. You didn't think of like this, black people at a party playing beer pong, listening to the dubstep. That was the last thing on your mind, But that happens in Atlanta. Like it's such a mesh of cultures and it's such a mesh of parties. And we wanted to show people, like it wasn't a fantasy for us. Like we wanted to show people that side of Atlanta. So if you watch the video is the primary focus of the video is on the party and the people, and we are barely in it. And it flashes the duck a lot, and so that's to us that is Watch the Duck. It's like it's more of a collective of ideas,
it's a thought process
and a culture that is the meshing, the coming together of cultures in a non-stereotypical way that and just kind of like shattering that. That's what we want to show.
Sure.
So that's why to Watch the Duck, and that's why that duck is to us what the eagle is to like America. You know what I mean? It's just like that. Nothing. It doesn't really get offended. Like you always hear, like it's like water off a duck's back. It's like not easily broken that way. And then everything is about being cool, which is why he got sunglasses on. You know what I mean? Like us culture, the first rule of culture is it's got to be cool first and foremost.
Sure.
And it may take a lot of hard work to be cool, and that's the under the water paddling. So. All of that, I'm making it sound deep, but we didn't think this deep on it when we was coming up with it.
Right. Just hindsight.
But that's what
like,
But that's why we were drawn to it, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The same as I'm sure it wasn't that deep to Steve when he chose an Apple.
Right.
When he was in that, when they was sitting there having a meeting, what do we call this computer company? It's called Apple. Like I'm sure it wasn't that deep.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Look what it became, though.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of great stories and great brands, they kind of become that in hindsight.
Yeah.
Right. Like. All these pieces sort of fit together.
Yeah, like in hindsight, I could make us look like super geniuses.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff we were just coming up with on the spot just because it felt good.
Sure.
Like we knew we wanted to go, and even now, like we got a series of videos coming out, tour and stuff coming up. New projects coming out, but it still hasn't really ventured too far away from that original thought process. Like we care more about the music and the sound and what it does to people.
Yeah.
And then like we'll show up to the shows, of course, we're gonna be there.
Right.
But the rest of that stuff, man, it's not that we're against it. And that's the thing too about Watch the Duck. We're not against anything. Like we're all inclusive. Like be who you are. Like that's what the Poppin Off video represented. Like our house parties, we would get people from all walks of life that come together. So it's like we always tell people now, it's like, because I think somebody was telling us one time we're doing something brand new, and I appreciate the bold of confidence. But I disagree. I don't think we're doing anything new. I think we're just really representing what is really happening in the world. You can't judge a book by its cover anymore. Like there was a time when you could look somebody and be like, yeah, I bet you all he listens to is Jay-Z and Nas. But that's not true anymore for anybody.
For
you know?
sure.
Even like we're from Montgomery, Alabama. Like I went home for Thanksgiving and my friends were shocking me with the stuff that they were listening to. They gave us the credit for it. They was like, man, it wasn't until I started listening to y'all stuff. Now, man, you know, I know this dude okay. Or man, I've been listening to Pretty Lights. I'm like, you listening to Pretty Lights?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
America's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Because if you saw the people I'm talking about,
Yeah, I
you'd
get
be
it.
like, dude, you the last person I think. But it's not anything new. It's what's happening to everybody. Everybody is expanding their consciousness, their comfort zone. We just want to be a part of it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Internet.
help me understand that because you know, so for my generation, genre is so important.
Yeah.
You know, genre is everything, right? Like, and you know, I grew up kind of in the, you know, early days of hip hop when you know you had to decide what was hip hop and what wasn't.
Yeah.
Right, and what was okay to listen to,
What was it?
and what wasn't, right? And you know, I also was, and a lot of people like were exposed to other genres and appreciated rock or Chicago house or like these different sounds, right? But knowing those differences and really paying attention to those differences was kind of important.
Not anymore, I think.
Gone,
But I
right?
think, but yes and no, because I think the conversation is still relevant. Like, we all see it every day on our timelines. What's real hip hop? What's not?
Yeah,
But
I hate that, by the way.
I
saw something on your timeline.
I got a love and hate appreciation
about
for
real
it.
hip hop. I forget what it was.
I got a love and hate appreciation because I appreciate the conversation. Because like I think conversation, we're always gonna all agree and disagree because words are just inadequate to explain feelings. Like we just weren't. I don't think we were meant to talk. I think that's that whole using under 10% of our brain that just shoots us in the foot. Like I think we was meant to just like communicate telepathically feelings. Because it's when I say a word, it limits it. If I tell you, if I say dubstep, I can lose 50-60% of a room.
For sure.
But if I describe a song that, man, this is an amazing song. It builds, it drops this way, and when it drops, like it's just like explodes, and it's like a rush of emotions. It's like a good day. I gain those same people back. It's like, oh man, that's amazing, you know. And it's like because I'm more so describing a feeling as opposed to a label that we may all disagree. So I think those conversations. That's why I love and hate them because like what's real hip hop, what's not. Those labels, the words are so limiting.
So are there limit? You know, I was reading an article this morning about, you know, there's a thing right now between deadmau5 is criticizing Skrillex for the record he did with Justin Bieber.
Oh my God, I don't even want to get in that. I'm gonna go and stop you right there. I don't even want to get in that shit because that's personal conversations. Like, and I'll really probably make some enemies. I just feel like, man, everybody should just shut the fuck up and do them.
But,
you know, like,
okay. but so what I'm curious about, and you know, we don't have to get into all those details, but you know, deadmau5 makes the argument that context is important, that we don't come to every record as if it's the first record we've ever heard and just listen to it with pure ears, right? We come with a certain set of prejudices, beliefs, you know, preferences.
He said all that?
Not as eloquently as me.
Oh, okay, I was like, that's
I was about to
amazing.
say wow.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
but that's the argument he's making is that context is important, and you know, it pains me a little bit to agree with deadmau5, but I think it is, right, because I think we don't have time to listen to every record that's created.
You're right.
So we need these filters to tell us. Like I know if something is labeled country, it's probably not going to be for me.
Right.
Now I'm also limited in myself because I'm sure there's good country music out there, but it's easier for me to just say, nah, I'm gonna focus over here where I'm more likely to find stuff that I like.
But like Patsy Cline has one of the best voices ever made. Like I love me some Dolly Parton.
Okay.
I'm actually a bigger fan more sometimes of some of the older country because when they were really making good
For sure.
songs versus the radio country.
Right.
But I guess to your point, what I'm trying to say is that Justin Bieber's Lose album to me is amazing, personally. And I loved what Skrillex did production wise because I love the fact that he was able to not compromise his integrity, but tone down you know, some of the music that he does, because the music that he does doesn't have room for vocals
Right.
throughout the whole
Sure.
songs. And I'm speaking as a vocalist. Like, there's no, sometimes on electronic tracks, the only reason why you do hear a vocalist over the hook is because it's the only place where we can fit, you know? So I think, and that's one thing I love about the music that we make together, is that we can fit a full song that you can just play on piano or guitar over this amazing track that's doing all this stuff to where you could damn near mute me and still party the same way. And I think that there's art in that. Like, there's genius in that. And I think it goes back to the whole purist conversation. Like, I remember when Kanye first came on the scene, how like real hip hop heads didn't really like Kanye.
Sure.
But because he was breaking the rules of hip hop. But what I've never understood about purists of any form of music is that we're talking about music. We're talking about something that is creative, something that was created.
Yeah.
If it was created to begin with, why are we gonna duplicate it over and over and over again? That makes no fucking sense. Like, we're made in God's image to be creators. So if we create something, we're supposed to take something and create something else. That's the whole thing, the whole gift of music. Like, if you want to argue with me about music, be mad about you don't like what somebody else is creating now. Like, be mad at the fact they didn't put the time into it to make the quality the same. Now, that argument I'll entertain all day. You know, the whole argument that people not putting thought into music right now, if you want to talk about that, yeah, I think you might have a point. I think people should think a little bit more sometimes. But as far as just being creative, for the fuck's sakes of being creative, why are you bitching about that? You know what I mean? Like, that'd be my whole thing about it. I think it's genius for guys who come from that world, like what Diplo is doing. What's happening in rap music right now? Like, cats like what Metro and them are doing, how they're expanding the sonic palette. You know, they're taking, and Mustard, you know, like, I mean, like, yeah, he made the same beat over and over and over again to make his hits. But a lot, and that's not a diss, I'm just talking right now.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that to say, like, but look at the sounds that he's using, though. Yeah. Like, a lot of the sounds that he's using are like house sounds, like house chords. You know, like, but he's putting the hip-hop beat up under it. That shit's genius. And it shows that, like, that's somebody who's listening. You know, like, one of the biggest gripes that I had, oh, man, now I'm getting my soapbox. I can hear myself. But one of the biggest gripes that I have with, like, DJs and stuff like that sometimes is that I know a lot of DJs personally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm friends with a lot of those guys. They'll come to the studio, we'll smoke, we'll talk. And the stuff they listen to on their playlist is totally different what they'll go out to the club and play all night. But then they'll bitch about how music ain't good no more. But I'm like, bruh, you don't use your power to change it.
Right.
You know, it's like, and like, that's my thing. Like, as an artist, like, whether we're as big as Madonna or we die obscure, what I won't go to my grave doing is being another person who's just sitting around bitching but not doing anything to change it.
But there's this feeling like we got to choose, and that's the thing I think is the biggest issue. You know what I mean? Like, people feel like it has to be this or that.
And it doesn't.
As if we're running out of something, like, you know, and run out of space. And I think your thoughts on, like, the filters, in a sense, like, you put something on a label so people can know whether to go toward it or avoid it. I definitely see the necessity, because we're in an industry now where the supply definitely outweighs the demand. There's more music than we demand. Right. That's true. So to get things to you sometimes depend on, be it somebody's playlist, but I just think it needs to be redefined. I think the genre thing is just antiquated. I agree that there needs to be some form of filtering so you can find what you're looking for faster. Like, it's the same thing with, like, going to Redbox, right? Like, I don't want you to just dump all the movies in there. Like, sometimes I want to pick a horror. I need something to be under horror. Yeah. You know, but I think with music, I think it's graduated to a place of just a little, like, slightly more complex. You know, and I think we should take a second, like, it shouldn't be when we have to put music in iTunes or when we have to nominate stuff for the Grammys, like, it shouldn't just be 6-7 categories, because it's gotten deeper than that now. Like, I think it's time for us to take a look at how we're categorizing it, and how we are filtering it, and how we are describing it. You know,
man, you just reminded me. I was on a committee. This is how, not to tell stories about how old I am, but I was on a committee for the Grammys. We had to decide what was rap and what wasn't for that category. Right, and because they didn't, you know, as an organization, that was so new, like, that they didn't know. So
Faith was just talking about that.
So we would sit there, you know what I mean, and be like, yeah, okay, this is a good song, but it belongs in R&B. This is not rap, and all this stuff. And I agree. I think those labels are antiquated. The question becomes, like, how then do you have some filters that enable people to find what they want? You know, I think as a culture, we're more open to now discovering things outside of our comfort zone, certainly than in previous generations.
I think, man, I personally, and this may totally be something that's just so artist like, and I totally get it, but I really wish we could almost describe them as feelings.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's take something like what Post Malone is doing in like The Weeknd. Like, to just call it R&B is just not, it's just limiting.
Yeah.
When to me they have a feeling that's going on, like, because how could if that's R&B and Tank is R&B and Tyrese is R&B,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that don't we?
Absolutely.
That's a little too broad, right? Like, and it hurt both form of artistry to me. You know what I mean? Because there's something that Tyrese is doing that's different than what The Weeknd is doing, and it's like, then you throw Miguel in that category and you just mess everybody up. You know what I mean? Because now I'm frustrated because I don't know what's going on, and I wish, like, one of my favorite things is, even though it's really weird, like when we work with TV and film, they describe everything as colors and emotions.
Right.
Like, oh, we want something that feels like a stroll along the beach. I'm all right with that because now we can now you know that's
I know what I'm getting into.
Now I know what we're getting into. Now we know. Okay, I'm not finna give you just boom, 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 like you said stroll. You're not running. Okay, cool.
Right.
So now I can hear the textures that's in something like Post Malone, White Iverson. Like, oh, I can stroll to that. Yeah, that's strollable. Or you can hear it in The Weeknd. Like, I just think we gotta look at it different because I think we just lose so many people, and that's why you're starting to see artists push hard against their genre. Yeah. Like you'll see somebody make a statement, don't call me R&B or don't call me rap, don't call me. It's because the limitations
of what
of
it comes with,
you know, and you don't want to get in that argument. Like, even back to the Skrillex and the Deadmau5 thing. Like, each genre has its do's and don'ts if you look at it from a technical standpoint. Like with dance or electronic dance, or you start being like, well, you know what, that's not that. Like, if it's too many vocals, then is it this? Or
Same thing.
like we get it, we get into these rules of limitations. But I think I feel like the feeling, man. You know what I mean? Like, if we were able to some kind of way filter it by feelings and just kind of look at the way people are even listening to it. Like, we have the data for it. Like, this can be done. Like, now with the way, it's not like we talk about something that's weird. Like, we all doing this digitally. We can figure this out.
Yeah.
You know what I
When you
mean?
really listen to music for real, it's all sounds kind of the same though. Like, we all sound like we're part of one big genre now. To be honest, like, it's just either you real chill or you got beefed up production. Most singers also rap. Most rappers incorporate melody into their stuff. It's like everybody is influenced by everybody. Like, that's why when people ask us what kind of music we make, we say it's mirror music. Because I just want you to, like, you can call it whatever you see in it, man. If you think it's soulful, call it soul. If you think it's EDM, call it that. Whatever makes. I'm not trying to be sarcastic.
No,
I'm
I
just
get
being
it.
honest.
Yeah,
Whatever
sure.
you see in it, because when I listen to the Weeknd or Miguel, I don't call them R&B because I feel like I grew up on R&B, and that's not that. That's something else. He's just singing. They're singing,
Right.
so I get why you're saying it's R&B, but like Babyface was R&B. Like, that's not R&B. That's like something else. You know what I mean? Like, and that I don't even want to call it because I don't want to piss nobody off. Just keep doing it. You know what I mean? So I think, and yeah, we're artists, so we feel this way, but I understand why people need genres. I'll just be honest. I'm uncompromising about giving people genres.
Yeah.
I just think it's an old way of explaining a thought process that we've all outgrown.
And it makes us disagree.
Yeah.
It creates an argument.
It's like religion. It separates us. When we all just want to love a higher power. And I think, I'm just going to be honest, I think that's what genre is now. We go into war over something that we shouldn't even be mad about because we all like the same
You
thing.
just don't like the word I use.
I love
Yep.
it. Yeah. No, I get it. All right, I want to talk about the business side a little bit. I think the music business is unique in a lot of ways because you start out creating a product and then you kind of have to learn the business as you go. And you guys obviously have been through such a journey together. How do you navigate the business together, and how do you what's your partnership like?
We homeboys.
Okay.
So we talk about everything.
Okay.
Once we 100, that's it.
Yeah.
Once we 100, we hope you mess with it. If you don't, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, like we come from like simple stuff. Like we like stuff to be simple. We just like things to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't make sense. And I mean, of course, we've added people to our team who, what we like to call, they've been to the ship. You know, we want to get a few rings, and we've added people to the team who have rings. So we listen. You know, like
how do you know who to trust? I mean, it's a shady business.
action.
It's action, and then it's getting in there and work. Well, we're building a system around collaboration.
Okay.
Collaborate is our biggest word right now. We don't feel like, sometimes we all like to get in our teams or we like to huddle up and not utilize each other. Like, one thing I love about the tech industry is that when somebody creates a new technology, everybody uses it. Mm-hmm. Everybody incorporates it. Everybody like, oh, that's an awesome idea. Let's put that in ours. And what we like to do that on the music side, where, I mean, look at our partnerships that we have now. Like, it's coming together pretty well, like, for business. But it's people it's starting with a goal, like-minded goals. Mm-hmm. Like, people that's, our first conversation, if we're interviewing, if we're sitting down to talk about management, publishing, record label, whatever, is, where do you want to go? Like, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve? What's the legacy? Like, when you die, what do you want to say you have affected? And then from there, we're able to pick partners, and we have these conversations. It's like big therapy sessions, to be honest with you. It's like group therapy. Yeah. And that's how we find our partners. And the partners we have now want to change the world a certain way. Like, whether we talking T.I. and Hustle Gang, like, it's levels of complications to Tip that I don't know if people really know, like how much of a mentor he is to artists, like how he really calls and goes and sits with people and talk about the trajectory of their career. So he actually will use the word trajectory.
Nice. Yeah, and I listened to Ali Shaheed Muhammad on Microphone Check interviewing Tip.
Yeah.
The other day. Actually, he won't call him Tip because Q-Tip. So they had a whole discussion.
I'm pretty sure that was. I got to hear that. I'm pretty
it's
sure
a great interview.
I got to hear that.
It's a great interview. Yeah. But yeah, he was a much more. I mean, I've been a fan of T.I.'s music since the first beat, but I had no idea that he was as complicated an individual and as he was,
because of stereotypes.
Yeah.
And that's what we're attacking. So you gotta, like with us for Watch the Duck, you take Tip, who represents stereotypically a certain thing like Southern hip hop, but got a much deeper, strong rooted vested interest in culture. Then you take Pharrell, who's always been kind of like this, I almost want to call it like alternative mainstream, you know, just slightly left of center, but know how to hit a home run though. And who's like a weird mesh in between of like hip hop, R&B, and then you take some of the best of R&B with like a Tricky and the Dream, and then you take like some of the best from dance with Denmark and Steve Aoki, and I'm describing a team that a group of partners that we've assembled together that would start working with to be like, let's put our heads together to just do great stuff. Like, because everybody I just named we've had long conversations about what we're talking about right now, genres, how music is coming together, how cultures are coming together, how we're starting to see more of each other in each other. The mirror music thing that Jesse was talking about, like we're starting to hear it in all our musics. And we all just come together to do something about it. So that's like the business side. We're just looking for people who want to evolve, you know, as fast as it already is evolving.
So what are, to some extent, these guys are mentors for you. And what's the most important thing that they've taught you?
To keep being yourself. I mean, because, and that's not even something that they said. Just personally, what I picked up from it was just keep being yourself. And, even being around Tip and Pharrell, each one of them have made mistakes. They've tried people, tried business partners that may or may not worked out. You know, you've tried stuff, but you just keep going and keep being yourself. Don't lose yourself, because remember that people are here to see you because they believe in you, and you got to keep believing in you. Yeah. Because the industry can change you. It can make you doubt yourself sometimes. It can make you be like, well, let me do what this person is doing. And you really got to keep your blinders on and run your race. And I think that's probably one of the most challenging parts about being in the music industry. You know, it's not to gauge somebody else's success against yours, to stay your course, to stay patient until your time comes, you know, and then you get it on your own terms. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've learned from them, because that's what I watch them do every day. You know, everything else is more so just advice. You know, try this, try that, because what worked for them may not work for us.
Right.
You know, so you still have to bring it back to you. It's probably the biggest thing that we've gotten from all of them.
Yeah. What was that feeling you mentioned when after Poppin Off blew up and you start getting calls?
That was great. Like,
What's it feel like?
It felt great. It felt like how we, back to the conversation we was talking about, how we felt weird and how we were like, fuck it. You know, you kind of just threw that up there like, man, okay, I'll tell the honest truth. As a vulnerable, creative soul, man, I got it, you know.
I got it.
But
That's right, this is safe. You're safe here.
But as a vulnerable, creative soul, when you put something up, you want nothing more than the people to like it.
Yeah.
I think saying fuck you is more of a defense mechanism. Like, man, fuck you, whether you like it or not, I like it. So when people like it, you're like, yay. You know what I'm saying? So and your voice get high too. But you know, so I mean, like, you know, we met Tip. We met Tip through Pharrell for the song on his album G Shit.
Yeah.
That I'm singing the hook on or whatever. And Pharrell called us in, meeting with Tip. You know, we walking in, we just getting back from Tomorrow World because it was the same day. We were out at the festival, so we walk in looking like we've been in the festival. Tip looks at us like, okay, what are y'all here to do? And you know what? Anyway, so he tells me to go in and sing the hook, come out, sing the hook, and he's like, "Yo, so watch the duck, man. Play me some more of y'all stuff." So we got cool that night. You know, it was honest. So I mean, it make you feel good because you like, if you like this, oh, there's hope for us. You know what I mean? Because you the last person I think to want to jump on Girlfriend. You know, but you one of the first people who we wanted to jump on it, but I just didn't think that you would like it. You know, we sitting one day, we was in a studio session, and then we used to have, like, because at the frat house, we used to just have, like, what we call, like, movie night. Really, it was Scandal night. It was like Scandal Thursdays. We get everybody over, and we watch Scandal. I know.
Not the toughest thing, but
it's not the gangsterest thing. But it was a great night. Let me tell you something. That was a good Thursday night. So, in one of our Scandal Thursday nights, phone rings, and it's Busta Rhymes. It's like, yo, son, I saw, because Busta talk just like he rap. So he like, yo, I saw y'all on motherfucking 106 and Park in the motherfucking outfits, and I was like, man, these motherfuckers don't give a fuck. That's everything. That's everything. Like, we looking at the phone like, man, it's Busta Rhymes. And he's, man, I love y'all shit. We got to do some shit together. You know, and, you know, so forth and so forth, like other people, whether they call, they found our number, or we meet them out in transit. And it's just like, yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. See, when we did that, y'all the last people we thought would like this. We really was doing this for us. Yeah. We was doing this because we needed it.
We didn't think nobody was going to mess. Nah. Like, we honestly, especially, I'm just going to be real, we was like, yo, this going to get us kicked out the barbershop.
Yeah.
We ain't going to be able to go back to the barbershop because we didn't think, we didn't think the club promoters, like in Atlanta, you know, that do like a lot of the popping parties, we didn't think they would mess with it. But man, it's that reassurance thing. It's like, we did it, we stood out there, we believed in the sound, but we were in it for the long haul. Like, yo, we're gonna take as long as it need to take to get this to where we gotta go. Yeah. But seeing people step up for it, seeing people talk about it, like to hear it on the radio, to hear the DJs talk about it, to go to those club promoters and being like, they have shown it to all of their friends. Like, some of these guys we didn't even know. Like, yo, I've been showing this to everybody. And it's like, but you look at the parties they throw, and you just didn't think they would like this.
Right.
And it, honestly, it made me see that I was a hypocrite. That the same thing that I was fighting against, people judging people by a certain thing, I was doing it.
Yeah.
I automatically assumed people wouldn't like this because this was weird or this was different. And we found out that those same people have become the biggest champions. And that some of the people that we considered weird that would like it were some of the biggest haters, you know? Yeah. And it's like, so it gave me a new perspective and made me like be like, you know what? You gotta let people, you gotta get, like, people are people, like, we're complicated. our likes and everything, especially now that we have access and we're not limited to geography anymore and just what our radio station play in that geography, you never know, man. And it's like, it's so seeing that response popping off, like, I mean, literally the song changed our lives, like literally, you know, to know L.A. Reid liked it, like why was the question. Like L.A. flew to Atlanta to meet with us, and we was like, why? You know, like, you heard this song. This is the song you heard. Like, out of all the songs we've done, you heard this one. He's like, yeah, I saw this one. Like, and you like it. And okay, you're like, yeah, not only do I like it, I want to sign it. Yeah, but this song.
And you know that's us, right?
Right.
That's us doing this song.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that, you know, taking chances, I don't know that you would describe it that way, but you know, doing you is so important to who you are. How do you protect that as the stakes get higher?
Man, it's like, I think it kind of solves itself, you know, because you remember that, man, the stakes are getting higher because we being us. The moment that we stop being us, all this will go away. I mean, and I guess just to be totally honest with you, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be in this room doing this right here today if we weren't being us. Right. So, I mean, when everybody else goes away, we still got to be us. We were us before y'all got here. So, I mean, it just doesn't change. If anything, what we think about is, man, our conversations, which is why I think it works that we're from the same neighborhood, we've known each other so long. Our conversations are, man, hey, man, bruh, you know, come on, man, all that's fine and good, but what we want to do, you know what I mean? And that's how we keep it us. It's like, yeah, I hear what everybody else trying to say. That's all good. Ain't nothing against none of them. Hey, bruh, how you feel about this, man? You know what I'm saying?
That balance of suggestions and what you want to do is real, and it's an ongoing battle. It ain't nothing we've conquered or like we've slaved.
For sure.
Like every day, you know, because as I talk about those same partners, the more people you bring in, the more opinions you bring in. We want to collaborate, but you also got to give and take. That art is an art.
So what would feel like selling out to you?
Just doing something that's not us. Like, you know, if I'm like, okay, this dude sent me this song I did one time. He wanted me to do a feature for him, and it was like, he had sung "Shout," you know, shout now, somebody shout now, well, come on now. That, you know, because just because I sound like a soul man, bro, I'm not finna get up there and do that. Like that's not what I'm finna get up there and do. Yeah. So stuff like that, you know, like just stuff that, man, I don't even want to watch it. You know, and it's nothing against that dude. He had the best of intentions. But nah, when I first heard it, it sent rage through me. I was like, bruh, no.
Doing something we couldn't be every day. Yeah. Because people suggest some, man, I could give y'all some examples of what people have suggested for us to do to quote, you know, turn up. We like, no, bro, I can't be that every day. Yeah. Because we're here in L.A. I kind of feel like we see people that's trapped in a certain image that they think the world believe them to be. So you got to show up and be that every day. So that's literally the question we always ask ourselves is like, can I show up and do this every day? Like if I'm shopping in Ralph's, can I be that character? If I have to be that character, can I be that character every day? Can I put on that show every day? Because honestly, I don't want the success if it's something that I got to pretend to be every day. Like, because that's torture. The good news is because we have been behind the scenes, we've got to watch behind the curtain when they walk back from that stage and still have to be that, and they don't want to be that. And that's what drives people to like a level of depression and a lower quality of life, regardless of the riches and the material stuff. Like, you can't pretend to be something that you're not. And so that's really our biggest question. If we can do it, can we do that every day for the next 10 years? Because if that makes it, if that hit it big, that's what everybody wants you to do every day. And they want you to be that. So that's why we take it serious. You know, we take it real serious.
Because we got to go home, man. I got to go to church with my mama when I go home, man. That's hard because they don't miss nothing. Right. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest challenges for artists as you start to become successful is you start chasing that last success. Yeah. Right. And you see that in people's music where everything starts to sound, you know, maybe they were experimenting or finding their way, and then all of a sudden everything sounds like that one song that blew up. Yeah.
Back to that genre conversation, man. Like, okay, when we first started Poppin Off, and everybody had the best of intentions, but because the way that Poppin Off sounded, everybody wanted us to keep making that kind of sound. You know what I mean? Like, do the soul thing, you know, beat wise, let me sing something that sound like Otis Redding over it, and then just do that, just make that a lot of times, and then that'll be y'all thing.
Exactly.
But then once that becomes our thing, that's all we can do, and it takes away from what we are. Like, we go into the studio with a clean slate every day. If anything, we just want to tie all of our schizophrenic tendencies together to make them make sense to y'all. You know what I mean? But we're not going to do the same thing over and over again. It may be something familiar, but it's, you know, for the biggest time, like, the biggest question we got was who's doing all the different vocals, because on Poppin Off, people thought my voice was a sample. And then when you go through the songs, I guess to other people, I don't sound the same on every song. So they'd be like, man, well, who's singing this song? Well, who's singing this song? And it's just, but to me, music, that's how I learned to sing. Like, I learned to sing by imitating people. So I could emulate anybody. Like, I knew how to sound like everybody before I knew how to sound like myself. So every song is a new movie. Every song is its own character. You know, it needs its own thing. And it's like, that's just like none of the production sounds the same from song to song. It's just similarities. You know, it's like, I think that's our way. That goes back to your question of how do we keep our integrity and, you know, not sell out. We're selling out once we're doing the same thing over and over again. That's another part of us selling out. As long as we're continuously creating, that's who we are. You know, so that's one of the reasons why this project sounds totally different than our last project.
Man, read. I know you guys you have a jazz background. Read Herbie Hancock's book.
Man, I read some of it, but I gotta finish it.
It's so amazing. But he starts out talking about how somebody, you know, one of his teachers told him, like, this is how you're gonna learn to be great. Is it was classical first. He was a classical pianist, and it was like, go listen to these records and learn to play them perfectly before you start trying to do your thing and make your own sound. Right? It was learn to imitate, and then you can start to build on top of that. And then he did kind of what you guys are talking about. His mission statement became, my next record is not going to sound anything like my last record.
That's what Outkast is. And continues to be for us. Like, they just at the top for us, because none of their projects sound like the last one. It's always a breath of fresh air. Kanye does it, you know, like he stands in the fire for it, you know, like everybody that was mad at him for 808s and Heartbreak when it came out, but then, you know, 10 years later want to be like, oh, it's greatest album of the decade, like, you know, because people understand things in hindsight. And then, like, now they mad. What was the one they was really mad at him for? The latest one, Yeezus. Like 10 years from now, it's gonna be Harold, a great album, you know. And it's like, but he keeps pushing the soundscape forward, like, you know. And so we look up to artists that's just looking to challenge themselves, not repeat themselves. Like Jesse said, like, that's our thing. That's what our sound like. We're getting off into these really cool projects where we're getting to do not only our projects, but like really cool side collaboration projects. Like, we're working on the WatchTheDuck album to come out on Epic, but at the same time, we have like these series that can be like, you know, a WatchTheDuck Time T.I. project, or possibly like, I ain't gonna give all of them away. I got something I gotta shut up on because I was about to give some stuff away. But like, we can do these cool where we kind of like bring some worlds together. So it's just like, I just love our freedom of creativity. Like, the album where we do our album where it's not about, it's about like really what we want to do and what we want to push it. Then the collaboration process where it's about what we would come together that neither one of us would make on our own.
So I know we're almost out of time, but there's a couple more things I want to know. So what's the next milestone?
Well, the album. We're looking forward to getting to the album, which we're gonna call Helen of Troy, Alabama. So we're looking forward to that. And just going out and performing these records that are off the Trojan Horse EP, because we're not trying to skip steps. Like, we're actually looking forward to doing more performances, because we've only performed the EP twice so far. Just because we're waiting for the top of the year to really go back out, and those songs they go live, man, they go.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that. So I take that back. Yeah, I'm looking forward to performing that EP a little bit more.
Who's your favorite DJ?
That's tough. Right now, I ain't gonna lie. Right now, I'm really on OK. Probably, I'm really on OK. I've been in an OK mode for a long time because his stuff is hard.
Nice. He's in on the show. We love OK.
His stuff is hard. You know, but it changes from the day. It changes. It depends on who's on my Spotify gym workout playlist today.
Okay.
So holler at me tonight, and I might have another one because I missed the gym this morning. I'm gonna go when we leave here, and it depends on who comes up.
Okay.
It's tough, man. You know, I actually like, I actually dig. You familiar with Benzie?
Yeah.
Like I like the playlist he put together. Like
Okay.
he puts, especially like with the girls trap and all of that.
Yeah.
Like I always come across some really cool stuff. I dig Yellow Claw right now. Nightmare.
Okay.
Marshmallow. Cashmere Cat.
Mhm.
It's a few out there, man. It's just Trippy Turtle. So like just people that I really like what Trippy Turtle and Cashmere Cat are doing with chords, like because they're taking like it's like just straight up it's like black soul church chords that's in their music, and isn't he from like Sweden or something?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what I'm talking. Like to me, that's what all this is about. Is like him putting those like he has those level of chords in there, but then like it's still progressive. It's still like the everything else around it is where like a lot of the electronic stuff comes in to play.
Yeah.
So it just shows what's happening with music over the world. Cause I'm like, who taught him these like Black Baptist church chords? Like that's a real question. If y'all find out, let me know. Like how the hell did that? But it's so I love it. I love it because it's just you wouldn't expect it. I just wouldn't call that. I wouldn't look at him and be like he gonna play like. But he does. So it's
What
really
about
cool.
the best live show you've ever seen?
I had to get to Michael when I was a kid. Still.
You saw Michael live?
Yeah.
What tour?
Bad.
Oh shit.
The Bad tour, because I was dumb young, but
Yeah.
it's probably one of the only thing that I really remember from my childhood. I remember him, MC Hammer, and R. Kelly's first tour. Those are my first tour experiences that made me want to be a performer.
Those are good ones.
Yeah.
Because R. Kelly was amazing. Like that was back when R. Kelly was like, dude, like you had never seen nothing like that from an R&B singer. You know, it was amazing.
For sure.
Yeah. Me, man, that's so tough. Like that's so tough. I actually will probably have to. R. Kelly was like my first big concert. Actually, MC Hammer was my first big concert, but R. Kelly was the one that hit me the most. Like seeing that, because I think I must have been at that same show he was at, and
We was in Montgomery.
I never seen that. I never seen that many people at that time.
Yeah.
You know, in one place like that, and so that just kind of blew me away, and then since then, I would say like my first just festival. And I guess it's not a particular show. It was just all the shows.
Which festival?
This was the first one where I actually got to stay and watch people.
Yeah.
Was Tomorrow World, where I got to watch other acts. It wasn't the first festival I went to, but it was the first one where I got to actually sit there and just be a fan for a minute, because it was in Atlanta, and we played our set, and we didn't have to get on a plane. So it was just dope seeing all those flags from all those different parts of the world, and just seeing like the screens and like just the different back-to-back sets. So like that, I put those together in my head, like the R. Kelly Tomorrow World Festival, to make like one super show. Because it's just I love that feeling. I love that feeling of at night and there's fireworks going, and then you got people who standing and jumping next to each other that don't even speak the same language. That's totally by chance that we even standing next to each other, like completely different backgrounds, and you just got that moment of just like love, like nobody's tripping, you're not angry, you totally getting muddy or whatever, and you just got your arms around people who just don't even speak your language, and it's just like, and it's dudes, girls, it's just a whole nother level of stuff. So like that, those are like, I love that feeling. Like we try to just duplicate that feeling, like in our own events. We have a festival attitude, you know. We try to bring that. We did a event out on Hollywood, and man, and that the vibe was in that room of like just a lot of different cultures together, and just like the music just was like, yeah, you know. So yeah, I'm a big festival fan. There's a lot of people I want to see live. I have not seen Prince live yet.
Man, That was my first live show ever.
Prince?
Yeah. Controversy tour.
Oh, I'm very
Changed my life.
Very jealous.
I've seen it on HBO.
Yeah. He's incredible.
That
I've
was
seen
your
him like
first
5
show?
times since then. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like 10.
Wow.
And there's nobody like him.
Nah, it's not. I remember the Sign of the Times tour. Isn't that one he did? Is that the one they always show on HBO?
Yeah, I think so.
The one where he's going around playing all the instruments on
I think
stage.
so. But he
Like,
does that at every show.
That's the closest I've ever seen. I never caught Prince, man. Because honestly, my mom was probably the exact opposite of Eddie's. Like my mom, she let me listen to all the Michael, but Prince was nasty,
Right.
and I couldn't.
Oh yeah, he
like,
was nasty.
Yeah, Prince.
I was
Prince,
10 and I was like,
yeah,
I'm
Prince.
probably not supposed to be saying that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Prince would take it there. You know what I mean? Like in Purple Rain, he really rubbed that thing. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't acting. He really
Sure.
touched it. So like I couldn't. But when I discovered Prince, it was like I went through a Prince phase. It was like I listened to nothing but Prince for like 6
You had the
months
jacket.
straight.
I wish I could have seen Parliament too, man.
Oh yeah.
I wish I could have seen Parliament. Like I wish I could have seen the mothership come down and
Sure.
like because just
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Cause them dudes lived it. Like
Yeah.
they lived it. They lived what they practiced, what they preached, boy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
Love what you guys are doing.
Thanks, man.
Keep at it. Come back anytime you want to promote something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch the Duck. Where do we find you online?
Everything Watch the Duck. Just
Okay.
like it's spelled, Watch the Duck. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, on the Twitter. And please, we're on iTunes too. The Trojan Horse EP
Okay.
came out on Denmark/Epic Records. Shout out to everybody over at Denmark, Brian and Lee and all y'all. Steve. So yeah, go support it. And if you don't want to buy it, it's on Spotify, it's on Beats Music. I would like for you to buy it. So
right.
with our record label, they would really appreciate you buying it.
Buy
But even
that
if you
shit.
want to steal it, just steal it. Just listen to it and come to the shows.
All right. Nice. Yo, we had all kind of shit for your ass this week. We had talking, music. I mean, what else could you want? We even had talking. It's unbelievable. I hope you enjoyed it. I love talking to these guys, man. I'm excited to see what happens next for them. I'm rooting for y'all. Watch the Duck. Make it happen. Come back next week. We'll have somebody else talking to Josh Levine, if you can imagine that, on Rebel Radio.